Good evening, everyone. Fellow members, and welcome to the 2024 Annual General Meeting of your local independent cooperative society. I am Tony Price, the President of the Society. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you and to our meeting this year. You should all have a copy of the Society's annual report. Please raise your hand if you do not have a copy. Thank you. On the back page is the order of business for tonight's meeting, and standing orders are detailed on the back page before. Please note that we will be invite comments and questions from the floor throughout the evening. There are microphones located on this level and a mic stand on a raised level. Can I ask that questions are raised at the appropriate point throughout the meeting and that you wait for the microphone before starting your question. We have received apologies from the following members: David Last, Mike Smith, Alistair Twee and Prudence Jones. Does anybody else have any apologies to give? Thank you. Right. For over 150 years, the Society has been serving members of the local communities within our trading area. Whilst retail certainly isn't getting any easier, we continue to strive to support our members and local communities. It has been a tough few years for retail since the pandemic, as the retail landscape continues to evolve. The continuing cost of living crisis and ongoing conflicts across the world have impacted many businesses, particularly with the effect on commodity prices, inflation, interest rates, and it's against this backdrop that we present our annual results tonight. My role this evening is not to go through the financial results in detail. Barry Wood, our Chief Executive Officer, will do this, and of course will be willing to answer any questions about the report and financial statements that you may have. Following this, there will be a number of items where members' approval will be sought, including the remuneration report, the annual report, before Barry will provide an update on our trading position so far this year. He will be followed by Brendan Smith, our Chief Executive Officer, Chief Operating Officer, my apologies, promoted him already, who will provide an update on business developments. You will also hear about our membership activities from Kevin Bennett, our Head of Membership and Marketing, providing an update on what we have been doing to support members throughout the ongoing cost of living crisis. Katie Hodges will then return for the final votes for this evening, including the share of the profits payment, directors' fees and expenses, approval of the distributions, appointments of the auditors, and the announcement of the election result. By the end of this annual general meeting, I hope that you agree your independent local cooperative society continues to support our local economy, community and members through our retail and membership services. Finally, I would like to thank my fellow directors, the management team and all society colleagues for their ongoing support, commitment and dedication demonstrated throughout the year. Collectively, it is people that make our cooperative a success. As a team, we ensure that your cooperative continues to make a difference in our community. I will now pass you over to Katie Hodges to complete the formalities for the evening.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Katie Hodges, Society Secretary. I'll be taking you through the formalities for tonight's annual general meeting. Initially, I'd like to take you through some general housekeeping for the evening. In accordance with the Society's rules, members have had the opportunity to submit a motion to tonight's meeting, and I can confirm that no motions have been received. Voting tonight will be taken by a show of hands, unless a ballot is required. So just moving to our first motion, which is to confirm the minutes of the AGM held on the 15th of May 2023. May I ask you to confirm that the minutes are a correct record of last year's meeting? Just before we go to the vote, I'd like to know, you might have spotted on your copies that the location of last year's meeting states that it was at 220 Morsham Street. That's an error that I will correct. That was actually held here, so that was an oversight on our part there. But in terms of approving the content of the minutes, we can go ahead and have that vote. So if I could ask you to raise your hand if you are for approving the minutes. Thank you. Against? And any abstentions? Thank you. And just before I go out to do the final count of the votes for the Society elections, can I suggest that Vicky Brandon and Emily Smith act as tellers for this evening? Can I ask a member to propose them and then a seconder to support, please? Thank you. And a seconder? Thank you. And if you could all just approve by showing your support with a show of hands. Thank you. And can I also ask for 2 scrutineers from the floor to oversee the final counts? Thank you. Can I ask for a proposer and a seconder in support of Simon and Nick, please? Thank you. And a seconder? Thank you. And I could ask all members just to confirm your support with a show of hands. That's great. Thank you. Would the scrutineers and tellers like to join me outside this room to conduct tonight's final count, please? And I will now pass you back to the President, Tony, to take you through the annual report.
Thank you, Katie. Right. The Director's Report on Financial Statements for 2023-2024. I will take you through our annual report, highlighting the key points to you. There will be an opportunity for questions before we ask for members' approval of the report and financial statement. Page 6 details our cooperative, environmental and social performance indicators. And includes progress in members' economic involvement, training of our colleagues, and includes information on our gender pay ratio, which has an improved mean differential of 7.7% and a minus 0.3% median differential. Pages 7 to 11 is our report to members, detailing the performance of each trading division. You will see on page 7 a pie chart showing the breakdown of gross takings by businesses. Clearly, the food business is the Society's biggest business. Our businesses have continued to respond to the ongoing challenges and rebound since the pandemic years. You see on page 8 a graph showing the breakdown of trading profit and losses by business. Pages 9 to 11 explains how we are putting our cooperative values and principles into action, which I am sure Kevin will want to draw your attention to later on this evening. The remuneration report on page 13 provides a transparent breakdown of senior executive and directors' emoluments for the year. Detailed in this report is a proposal to increase directors' fees by 8%, which is in line with the colleague award of last year. The succession planning report on page 14 explains and demonstrates the Society's commitment to develop our colleagues and directors. Your directors underwent an annual performance evaluation conducted by our Secretary, which forms the basis of the training plan for the year. Pages 16 to 17 details the Society's compliance to Cooperative UK's Code of Best Practice, the Cooperative Governance Code for Consumer Cooperative Societies. The report confirms that the Society's systems of internal control has proven to be effective throughout the year. The statement of accounting policies on pages 18 to 21 explains the accounting policies adopted during the year. Turning to the financial statement on page 22 onwards, the group revenue account shows the Society achieved gross takings of £107 million, representing a growth of 1.5%. The Society generated a trading profit of £522,000 compared to £65,000 last year. The deficit for the year posted to reserves is £197,000 compared to a surplus of £7,000 last year. Turning to page 24. The net pension liability is a £701,000 asset compared to an £853,000 asset last year. You will see members' funds now stand at £14 million. On page 26, net debt has remained at £165,000, having been artificially low during the pandemic years. On pages 27 to 42 are the supplementary notes to the financial statements, providing additional information, including the auditor's report on page 40 and 41. Thank you. I will now pass you over to our Chief Executive Officer, Barry Wood, for a review of the financial performance. Thank you.
Good evening. Just before I start, I do apologise. Some of the things that the President mentioned I will be going over again in terms of the depressing economy that we've all endured for the last 12 months. But it does begin to set the scene of our financial performance for the last 52 weeks that ended on the 27th of January. We all know that the world continues to be a very precarious environment, with headlines such as the UK closer to large-scale conflict than in many years being used by the press. Is it scaremongering? Is it the reality? Who knows? What we do know is the impact that that's having on the economy and us as retailers. The conflicts that are taking place throughout the world, you've got Russia's ongoing invasion of Ukraine, Israel's war with Gaza. While those the large-scale increase in commodity costs that we saw 2 years ago when Russia first invaded Ukraine have abated, we're not seeing wholesale commodity price cost decreases yet. Inflation's fallen from the high of 19.2%, a welcome fall from early 2023, but the UK is still seeing inflation of 3.2%, meaning that the households are continuing to see their disposable income squeezed and are generally less well off than in 2021. Food price inflation peaked at 15.7% during 2023, and this is making households' food shop remain high. This is playing out in our stores with smaller average basket sizes as shoppers manage their household budgets. The average basket spend is increasing, but the number of items in the basket continues to fall. The Bank of England base rate has now reached its highest level since 2008, adding even further pressure to household budgets, with many mortgage holders of today never having seen interest rates above 1%. And they're seeing more of their disposable income being consumed by the mortgage payments as their fixed rate terms end. All of these factors continue to have an impact on the retail landscape. Retailers are now seeing an alarming increase in retail crime, just to add to the list of woes, with the British Retail Consortium estimating that last year alone, retail crime cost retailers £953 million. Retail crime has always been a challenge for retailers, mainly through the petty shoplifting that we're all familiar with. But the scale of the problem is like nothing that has been seen before. To give you some examples, retailers are now seeing what is referred to as organised looting, where small gangs of 4 or 5 individuals enter the store and using pure intimidation clear the store of cigarettes, lottery, scratch cards. There are no weapons involved at all. It is purely intimidation by the number of people entering at one time. We've sadly been the victim of this practice on several occasions, and for the colleagues involved, this can be a traumatic experience. We regularly now receive reports from stores about large thefts. No longer is it the jar of coffee, the bar of chocolate. Recently, one store manager was knocked to the ground and severely beaten while attempting to stop what he believed to be a lone shoplifter, unaware that the offender was actually part of a gang. In another incident, a lone shoplifter made it quite clear to the store manager that if he tried to stop him, he would be stabbed. Our colleagues are facing those challenges every day. No individual should have to come to work and face these sorts of behaviours in the line of serving their communities. As such, the Society welcomes the recent changes in the law, making it an offence to assault a retail worker, alongside the government's commitment to fight retail crime. Only time will tell if these changes have an impact, as even with solid evidence in the past, we are seeing the police failing to attend incidents and apprehend the suspects. The retail industry continues to face a multitude of pressures, including the continuation of an unfair business rate system, a broken apprenticeship levy system, on top of the general economic challenges. Britain has been referred to in the past as a nation of shopkeepers, but if the retail industry continues to be the go-to place for government to raise cash, the nation's high streets will continue to wither and die. In 2023, according to the Centre for Retail Research, there were a total of 10,494 store closures in the UK, resulting in 119,405 job losses. The high streets and the retail centres of the UK are shadows of their former self. And while charity shops do excellent work and help the sustainability agenda, they fail to offer the diversity that a vibrant high street needs to survive. Throughout the year, at the forefront of the board and management's mind has been the cost of living crisis and how we can stay true to our founders' principles of adding value to members in very difficult times. We have been supporting our colleagues and our pensioners through double discount Fridays, granting them 20% discount on their food spends to help ease these financial pressures. In addition, our members have told us in the past, through member surveys, that while the dividend is an important part of cooperative membership, they value immediate rewards and savings. To that end, during the last year, your society has run 10% off for members on food spends on Wednesday afternoon in selected stores, and in a number of stores, members receive 10% off Monday through to Friday on their spends. Through these immediate reward offers, our members have saved a total of £230,000. We believe staying true to our roots and to why cooperatives were set up originally. It is against this backdrop that we present the financial accounts for the year that ended 27th of January 2024. Given the challenges that we have faced in the period under review, I hope that as we move through the evening, that members will agree that we have managed to weather the storm and produce a reasonable financial performance given the challenges. I will take the meeting through initially the results, highlighting the key areas and providing background behind the numbers where necessary. Before I do so, I think it's once again important to take a few minutes to recognise the contribution of our stakeholders in being able to present a set of accounts that show a good level of year-on-year improvement at the operating level. Every colleague has played a part in the year's performance, and it's fair to say that without their continued commitment and efforts in challenging circumstances, we would not have been able to present the performance that I'll be outlining shortly. All of our colleagues in every one of our trading businesses and in our support functions have played a part in making the financial year a success. Turning to other stakeholders, our investing members have also continued to be extremely understanding as we continue to manage the Society's share capital through the Society's rules by limiting the annual withdrawal amount and requiring 90 days notice on withdrawals. The continued loyalty and understanding of these members is much appreciated, and their continued investment allows the Society to continue to invest in the business. To summarise the performance in the last financial year at a sector level first, the food business, excluding fuel, bill payments and lottery sales, recorded an increase in gross takings of 4.9% compared to the previous year. While in more normal times a 4.9% increase in turnover would be a cause for celebration, the increase was purely inflationary, while the volume of products that we sold in the year fell by 4% compared to the previous year, reflecting consumers reining in their spend. At last year's meeting, I described the plan to market our stores as more than just a shop, which in essence is an awareness campaign around the services that we continually add to our stores to make them a one-stop shop for the convenience needs of the community. From the increased food-to-go focus, the parcel collection and drop-off services, with now some big courier companies being seen in our stores, Amazon, Every, InPost, for example. We have continued to roll these services out to stores where there is a demand, and this adds value to members and customers, hopefully driving footfall. We have seen the success of this strategy in a number of stores, generating some encouraging turnover increases when combined with exceptional retail standards and service. During the year, we made the difficult decision to dispose of our store on Long Road, Canvey Island. The store had been part of the Society's estate since 2000, but in the last few years, a trading loss had been made by the store every year. Following efforts to try and reverse the trend, we had to accept that the store was no longer viable for the Society. The store was sold to an independent retailer in November of last year, protecting the jobs of all the colleagues employed at the store. Trading profitability in the food business grew year on year by 80% compared to the previous year, representing a solid improvement in the Society's core business due to the focus on margin management, operating standards and operating cost control. Department stores continue to be one of the Society's biggest trading challenges. And in 2023, gross takings in the department store business declined year on year by 4.2% as customers continued to battle with a cost of living crisis and cut back discretionary spend. Trading losses in the department stores increased in the year by 8%, totalling £490,000. The performance of these stores continues to be of concern to the board and management, and work is underway to reduce the store footprints to reduce operating costs and in turn the trading losses. while a long-term solution to eradicate the losses can be identified. The board and management continue to explore all the opportunities for reducing these operating losses to ensure that society's profitability is not undermined by this area of the society's retail offer in future years. Our travel business recorded a decrease in gross takings of 4.4% compared to last year, with the business being plagued by recruitment challenges, which meant restricted opening hours in both branches for a number of months. We now have a full complement of colleagues in the travel business, offering the level of care and service to our members and clients that we have been historically known for. As a result of the challenges, the business saw trading profit fall by 39% compared to the previous year. Turning to funerals, gross takings in the year increased by 2.2% year on year. The new funeral home in Basildon that was opened in 2022 is now beginning to establish itself, and while a cold start in the funeral business does take time, the trends are now becoming encouraging. Staying with funerals, in November the Society relocated its Ingatestone funeral home from 47 The High Street to Spread Eagle Place, adjacent to our food store. We had excess space in the food store, and as the lease of 47 High Street had expired, it made sense to take advantage of reducing operating costs and sweating the space occupied by the property that we occupy for food. Full year trading profitability in funerals fell by 23.7%, representing the additional costs of the new branch and the increased operating cost base, i.e. energy, personnel costs, etc. The funeral industry continues to be challenging, with falling death rates in our trading area and the calls for regulation on the back of high increases in prices, and latterly the legacy funeral directors scandal is making funeral business harder to perform in. Finally, our rental income from our investment property portfolio decreased by 1.14% year on year. Looking at gross takings, total society level gross takings, as the President commented on earlier, totaled 107,742,000, an increase over the previous year of 1.47%, or 1,558,000. And that reflects the many challenges that I've highlighted already. As members can see from the slide, the Society is operating below the pre-pandemic year of 2019-20. This is due to the fall in volume in food stores, with volume being affected by the change in shopping habits brought about by the pandemic, following that the cost of living crisis. Fall in volume in the food business is not just a Chelmsford Star issue, it's an issue that we are seeing across the cooperative movement. In our department stores, we saw the Arcadia Group going into administration during the pandemic, which meant we lost a large chunk of our turnover and income from our Braintree store. And the drop in sales of big ticket items in department stores is also proving a challenge. Our gross profit or income increased by 2.01% year on year, reflecting the improvement in the management of gross margin, which is absolutely essential in the current environment. Operating costs increased by 2.85% year on year. The main areas of operating cost increase were personnel costs, which is a result of another high increase in the national living wage in April 2023. Utility costs, primarily electricity, increased by 18.36% in the year, in line with the continued pressure that the UK saw across utilities last year. The cost of distribution, the amount that we pay to the cooperative group for delivering goods into our food business, continues to increase year on year. And while we sold 4% less products in the year, the total cost of distribution increased by 0.91%. This is a result of the logistics network for the movement becoming more expensive to run per case as the volume across the movement falls. Finally, given that most suppliers are passing on their increases in labour, fuel and utility costs, we believe the Society did an excellent job of controlling operating costs to protect profitability. Turning to operating profit totaled £522,000, an increase on last year of 703%, and a performance that society is pleased with after the challenges encountered during COVID and the subsequent year. While the year-on-year growth in operating profit is encouraging, the trading environment remains extremely difficult, and the cost pressures are continuing, and the society is far from taking for granted that this level of performance can be counted on every year. Members will note that the revenue account contains some exceptional income of £46,000. The income is a result of the proceeds of the sale of the food store in Canvey Island, referred to earlier. However, there are also some exceptional charges, which are the costs of exiting the funeral unit at 47 High Street in Gatestone, and also a provision for surrendering one of the 3 units that we occupy on Gloucester Avenue, Chelmsford, where the lease has expired and we no longer need the space given to us by that extra unit. And if you frequent Molsham Lodge store, you will have seen that we have refitted the store and condensed our space down with no loss of real offer to the customer. At the retained level, made a retained loss in the year of 197, being heavily impacted by the deferred tax position. The deficit before tax was £85,000, an improvement year on year of £297,000 or 77.74%. Touched on earlier by the President, the annual accounts show that at the end of the financial year, the Society had debt totaling £165,000, a level equaling that of last year. Finally, with trading continuing to be tough, it's important that we ensure that any capital expenditure projects are directed towards areas that will produce the longest return and keep the level of net debt low. So, happy now to take any questions on the accounts. Mr. Wallace.
Thank you very much. Malcolm Wallace. Actually, my questions also touch on the annual report as well, but if you can bear with me. So 3 questions. First of all, in the annual report on page 9, it refers to young people. Could you just elaborate on that a little bit, please, on how often our young people meet, the relationship with Essex and so on, a little bit about their work. Also, do the police ever tell you why they don't respond after there's been incidents? And finally, I've noticed over the last year the Co-op's Fair Trade chocolate, its own brand, has been, well, first of all, I haven't seen it for some time, then it's come back again, and I think the range has changed somewhat, but we're not getting, I don't think we're getting the full range of chocolate. That may well be that they've stopped doing it nationally, or it could be that we're not supplying it, but if you could just elaborate a little bit on that. Thank you.
I'll answer the police question and the fair trade, and I'll ask Kevin to answer the young people one because he's involved in that directly. The police, to be fair, it does vary by area. Our security manager has quite a good relationship with the police force across the trading estate. Where we can get answers, we tend to, but it's a bit hit and miss. You can ask the question, you might get a response. So to give you an example, the one that I cited about the manager being beaten up, at the time of the incident, the police attended. A member of the public had witnessed it and had got the registration number of the car. The police then confirmed that that wasn't reported lost or stolen. So they believed the offenders, or suspects shall we call them, had used their own vehicle, which is why they were so violent. Now, my view, and purely layman's point of view, is you've got the registration number, it's not stolen. Surely it's as easy as going knocking on their door. No. They then turned up, if I'm right, a couple of weeks later, did the same thing in another store. Nobody was injured, but did another theft using the same vehicle. Now, our view is, you've got all the evidence, you've got a witness statement, you've got a guy that's been beaten up, you've got a registration number, you know the owner. How hard can it be to nick them? That's, yeah, I'm not a politician, as much as some of my presentations sounded like I should be a politician. The country's broken, isn't it? The police are turning and saying they haven't got the resource. So we're doing what we can. All we need to do is make sure we can package the evidence and go, there you go. If they don't do anything, then we've got our hands are tied, which is frustrating because when you do, you come to work in the morning, you hear about people being threatened to be stabbed or being beaten up. You just think, well, what can we do? You feel completely useless. So we are doing everything we can to try and make people safe.
Is there any way that members can assist at every stage of this, or
I think
if they're at the incident, that would be helpful.
yeah, I mean, I think it's a big step forward that the law has changed.
Yeah.
That it is now a crime against, a specific crime against retail work. What we now need to see, as I said earlier, is we've got to see that enacted. But certainly, I think if there's anything else, there was petitions around that were issued. I think what we could do in future, as much as we publicise those to staff, perhaps we should publicise those to members as well. So if there is a petition around retail workers' rights protection, then let's get that out to members. The more votes, more names on those petitions, the better. Fair trade chocolate, I believe this is down to. We obviously buy, as many of you will know, through the cooperative group. So we belong to a buying group called Federal Retail Trading Services, which all independent societies belong to. Along that company buys in the buying services of Co-op Group. A piece of work was done 18 months, 2 years ago, around looking at the number of products that Co-op convenience stores stock in comparison to the competition, the Sainsbury's Locals of this world, the Tesco's Expresses. What they found is actually our business is more complex than it needs to be. So we're stocking far too many products in comparison to the competition. What that does is adds complexity and cost right the way from the supplier right down to the store. So it's a big piece of work, and they rationalised the range and took loads of products out. So I think that's where initially you would have seen a lot of that range disappear. Then there was a lot of feedback from independent societies like ourselves going, well, hang on a minute. You've taken out some core lines, you've taken out too much Co-op brand on this category, we've seen sales going down, so they started to put stuff back. So I think that is why you've seen, loads go out and then some gradually come in. But ultimately, for us to be more efficient and productive through the whole value chain from supplier to store, we've got to simplify it. When you look at our business, we have a lot of products sitting on shelf that, to one of the birds, gather dust. So in a small store like Melbourne, as an example we were looking at recently, 20% of the volume of white wine we sell in there comes from just one product. So there is a lot of, we call it dead stock out there. And I think Group have realised that and said, okay, so if it's dead in the store, it's dead in the warehouse, it's taking up picking locations, it's creating cost. How do we take that out? So hopefully that gives the background on that. Mr. Bennett, if you wouldn't mind.
Hello, Mr. Wallace. So the question, if I'm right, is our links with young people. Is that correct?
Yeah, how it operates, the Essex side of it as well as our youth group.
Okay, so there's kind of two main approaches. We've got a lot of links still with schools through Community Fund and our community card groups. So we deal with them on a one-to-one basis, if you like, with donations and assemblies and things like that. We also work quite closely with Council's Youth Services. They have a group called the YEA, the Young Essex Assembly. That is a group of youngsters between the ages of 14 and I believe 21 that have been elected by other students, other peers. and they meet on a monthly basis. Now, a section of that YEA is called the Cooperative Youth Board. So they, as part of their regular meetings, they discuss youth-related matters. I attend either online or physically at the meetings, maybe once every 2 months. And they have lots of fingers in lots of pies, but they're very keen on sustainability, mental health, reducing knife crime, things like that. So we have a dedicated group of youngsters that have been elected by other youngsters that are working with us quite closely via the youth board. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin. I think that the youth question is one that will never go away, and I think let's just look around the room, and if we did a poll of the average age, it's probably not as young as we'd like it to be on youth. It's something that the movement as a whole needs to grasp. We need younger members. They are the lifeblood, ultimately, of tomorrow. And it's something that we regularly discuss, and we still haven't got the silver bullet as to how we attract more people of that younger age. Any other questions? Okay. I'll hand over to Katie, I believe.
Thank you, Barry. So having heard from both the President and CEO and having had the opportunity to raise any questions on the annual report, there are now a number of formalities associated with our AGM, all of which require a simple majority of votes. To start, may I ask for members to take an advisory vote on the remuneration report on page 13. Please note the director's fees and expenses proposal will be taken by a separate vote later this evening. Please can I ask for a proposer and a seconder for this approval? Firstly, a proposer. Thank you. And a seconder. Thank you. And please can I ask for a show of hands to vote for? Thank you. To vote against? And anyone that would like to abstain? Okay, thank you. And secondly, so the annual report and financial statements have been presented to members tonight. Therefore, may I ask for members to formally receive the Director's report and financial statements? Please can I have a proposer? Thank you. And a seconder. Lovely, thank you. And can I ask for a show of hands for? That's great, thank you. Against? And anyone that would like to abstain? Okay, great, thank you. I'll now pass you back to Barry for the trading update.
So we're now, believe it or not, a quarter of the way through the new financial year. So given that members are obviously present, it makes sense to give a bit of an update on how we're performing in the first quarter. It has been extremely challenging for all the reasons obviously I outlined earlier in terms of last year. Those trends are continuing. Our gross takings on a like-for-like basis have decreased by 1.8%, with only department stores and the travel business generating growth, as you can see there on the screen. Department store growth, you can see, is coming from our concession partners, with our own bought trading slightly down year on year, only marginally. Our core food business, which is everything excluding the pay point and lottery, has recorded a decrease of 1.4% year on year. That's reflective of the lower footfall to the stores, the lower average basket size than we'd like to have seen and have seen historically. The services element, the pay point and the lottery is down by 12.1%. That's a trend that is now being seen across the country. And you may have noticed in the press that the operator of the National Lottery has changed earlier this year from Camelot to Allwyn. And they have reported that they're 15% down on the lottery year on year. So we are performing slightly better than the overall lottery market, but that's still a sizable amount to be down year on year. Cost of living crisis continues to have an effect as customers are driven to the discounters for the savings. The weather hasn't been particularly kind to retailers, and we always like to use the weather as an excuse. with April being a complete washout with 50% more rain than usual, if you've obviously seen the Met Office statistics. All of that, it sounds silly that people don't come to convenience stores as much when it's cold and wet, unless it snows, and then they flock to the stores to stay local. But when that weather is sort of middle of the road, we just tick over. Fuel turnover is 0.5% lower than last year. That is purely driven by fuel price deflation. The volume of fuel that we've sold in litres is up 6% year on year. Department store business currently trading up year on year by 2.4%. As I said earlier, that increase is being driven by the concession partners in both fashions and footwear. Travel is really flying. It's got off to an exceptional start to this year. Recognising obviously we did come from a low start because of our staffing issues last year. Gross takings in travel have grown by 25.6% year on year, with both the holiday bookings and the currency sales recording growth. Funerals business is showing a decrease in gross takings of 9.3% against last year, and the number of funerals conducted is also down year on year. Finally, property business has generated a decrease of 4.2%, mainly due to short terms of empty flats as tenants move out and move in. It's quite clear when you look at the end of the first quarter that the year is going to be tough, with trading difficult in our core business and the continuing increases we're seeing in operating costs. So national living wage was again 9% increase, payable from the 1st of April. Utilities, it's a little bit easier than it was last year. We're not seeing the same level of increases, but we're not seeing it go down either. So that's an update for the first quarter of the year. Just touching on looking forward, earlier this year the board and management started looking at the strategic plan for the next 3 years. And while it's too early to be able to share any detail around the plan, the board have approved the revised vision and mission statement that was worked on together by the management and the board. And that's what will be used to guide the society's strategies over the next 3 years. So you can see on the screen there, our vision is to be a successful cooperative business to deliver value to our members and the local communities we serve, being guided by the sustainable and commercially sound principles. And then the mission will achieve our vision by delivering value to our members and customers, putting cooperative values and principles at the centre of everything we do, making our businesses an integral part of the community, being a progressive employer for our existing and future colleagues, and generating opportunities for sustainable growth. So that will be something that will be published regularly now. You'll see it every year in the annual report, and the strategic plan for the next 3 years will sit off the back of that. So hopefully when we meet next year, we'll be able to share the detail around the next 3 to 4 years. So I'll now pass over to Brendan, Chief Operating Officer, to take you through some of the business developments that we've conducted in the last year and have got planned for this year.
Okay, good evening. So, just going to spend the next 5 or so minutes talking through the business developments, as Barry just said, what we've done in 2023 and then what we've got planned for 2024 and beyond. So I think the biggest initiative that we did in 2023 was the design and rollout to a trial basis of the new food store format. I think you can see on the pictures there a really sort of modern brand. I think it's taken us forward. Really bold internal decoration. We all were quite nervous around the dark colour scheme inside, but actually when you see it in reality, it looks really good. Internal features, so you can see on the screen there, brickwork, illuminated LED signs, all things that actually you would like to see in a modern convenience store. We've also run a trial on some media screens. The hero categories are very much centred around the food to go and the fresh food. And And what we've done, last year we managed to refit 2 stores. So the first was Leon C, and the second one in January of this year was Molsham Lodge. We do have a programme to continue that in 2024, where we hope to do 12 stores. We've already done 3, the Sorrels, Writtle and Hawkwell, and we've got approval for the next 2. So by June we'll have had 5 done, so we're about halfway there. And what I would say is the offer's continually evolving, so we're going back and tweaking the stores as we go, trying to make improvements to enhance the consumer offer. So rather than me try to wax lyrical about what I think and how good the store is, we're just going to spend a couple of minutes just watching a video. So I hope you agree. I think, for those of you that know our Writtle store, then I think, massive improvement, modern brand, and generally well received to date. So I think just a throwback, 12 months. So at the meeting in 2023 even, we talked about a trial with the impost lockers. At that stage, we had a trial running with 5 stores. And Barry's mentioned it and it's in the report that we've now evolved that. It's 22 stores, and it's driving footfall to the stores, bringing us some income as well. So it's part of just evolving that retail offer. More than just a shop. It's been referenced throughout the day. You've seen some graphics in the video there and on the slides. This is very much us trying to pitch or highlight that we are just more than a shop. There's so many things that you can do in one of our food stores now, whether it be parcels, whether it be lottery, pay bills, the services that are available in our store, in addition to the standard food store offering, is really strong, and we believe that it really does centre us as being the heart of that community. Moving forward, and it's part of the more than just a shop offer, food home delivery. So that's evolved again in the year. We've now got 15 stores on Snappy Shopper, and we've sort of complemented that in a further 8 locations with the Uber Eats platform. We believe it's genuinely 2 different types of customer. The Uber Eats is very much people that are loyal to the brand of Uber. That's their go-to platform for their takeaways and their sort of distress convenience purchase on the home delivery front, whereas we believe Snappy Shopper, when you look at the 2 average basket spends in both of those, there's a significant difference, and it's weighed very much to the Snappy Shopper, but the volume is very much weighed to the Uber. But again, it's very much part of the modern retail offer. Moving on to department stores. So throughout the year, the team have worked very hard to try to make the offer relevant and refreshing. You know, department stores are a challenge. We've heard that already. So it's very much trying to create continued interest. So I'll quickly just whiz through these. But I think what I would call out is some of the brands that I'm just about to mention. Would you really think, and I think it's credit to the team, that you've got these in a cooperative department store? So Jasper Conrad now work with us with regards to accessories, and that went live in autumn winter last year. French Connection is in store as well. Jules has come back to the store, back to Chelmsford. JJXX, you can see I'm sort of into my fashion, not. It's based in Braintree. It's a younger person's offering. It's denim, it's t-shirts and the like. But again, it's in our Braintree store. Wrangler, again, strong brand, international brand, and we've got it in our stores. And then finally, we've got a new concession in Braintree, just went live in January this year, where we've got a watch repair. So TJD is an independent guy that runs his own business. We're working with him in Braintree. He sells watches, he repairs watches, you know, servicing batteries and the like. But again, another offer to our Braintree store. Funerals. So very much this is based around awareness. So we went live at the end of last year with a radio advert, and again, it's all about awareness. So what to do when, you know, the inevitable happens, celebration of life, highlighting the services. So it's trying to take away that mystique, the taboo subject of a funeral, and bringing it, you know, in. What I'm trying to say, to bring, you know, make it more approachable. So what you've got there is, you know, that's regularly being played on local radio, and that's supported by a social media campaign. We talked about last year that recruitment was a challenge. I think it's referenced in the annual report. Pleased to say now we've got a full complement of team. We've got two really good branch managers. So Faye's been with us now for a number of years, and Gemma joined the business back in December last year. And I think that, you know, the evidence is of the success is in the first quarter results. Travel is one of the businesses that's performing well. We've now got a full complement of travel advisors as well. So, you know, we are now looking to grow our travel business back to the historic levels. To support them doing that, again, it's all about raising the awareness. We did have a time where there was a period of perhaps uncertainty around, you know, would the branch be open, would it not? So what we're doing now is raising the awareness on the travel department. You know, so it's currency, additional services, destinations. These are all being pulled out on a regular basis and highlighted to potential customers and the members. We've also got a good relationship with suppliers. So again, as they normally do, they've supported us with regards to a peak season brochure, again, which has gone live early in the year. And again, we're seeing that results come through. And just really to sort of sum up, I think you've said it, Tony said it, Barry said it, everybody's, and it's quite right, focus on our colleagues. So what have we done in the year? So adopted a new uniform policy. So almost empowering the colleagues a little bit, you know, dress for your day, that's our uniform policy now. Dress for your day, you know what you've got scheduled in your diary or what you're doing for that day, so you can dress for your day. You can, you know, we're no longer frowning upon jeans and things like that in the store. So we're trying to create that modern sort of retail environment. New uniform for the refitted stores. So again, I think you can see there Malcolm, the store manager of Molsham Lodge, donning his grey fleece. And then we've also looked at colleague welfare. So I think Barry's mentioned about some of the issues we're facing in the stores. So the new headsets, every store that is going through the refit programme is also getting issued with the headsets. So it's not so they look trendy or, you know, they can pretend to be a singer. Actually, they can talk to each other. You know, I could talk to somebody in the back there, they couldn't hear what I'm saying. Aids communication, it's all about efficiency, but it also gives people confidence. If they are the only person in the shop floor, they can talk to a member of the team, call for assistance and things like that without, the obvious. How many times have we been in one of our stores where the bells have rung, everybody knows what it is, either a different till or a manager or whatever. Now we can actually just, touch the headset and call for assistance. And then one of the other things that's gone live in the last few months of last year and early part of this year is an internal social media platform. And really that's designed around celebrating success. We regularly post on there about some good performance, good things we've seen in store. So it's very much about celebrating success. You can see there a picture of the team at Rittle on day one, posing in their uniforms, proud of their store. So, I think it's a positive. But I think it's been said all the way through. Our colleagues are a number one asset, and we're trying to recognise that now. And that's it from me.
Malcolm Wallace, thank you for that. On the new format for the stores, I must say on the first day I went to Riddle, I looked at they tell me it's charcoal, not black, but it looked black to me. But it worried me a little bit, but I think it's great now. I really tuned into it, and I thought the inside with the brickwork was absolutely superb. So the whole change, I think it's really progressive, and so I'm quite delighted. Reflecting back to the figures earlier on, I think you're right about the travel. That is just a fantastic advance for the first quarter, 25-26%. But what worries me a little bit is with the concessions, you show the concessions there, they are brilliant. They're up 6.5%, but our own stock was only 0.3%. Now, I don't remember seeing those figures in that way before, but that's a big difference between the two. I mean, I suppose I've got to ask the question, what's going wrong?
I would say that if you look at the makeup of the stores, the offer is very much weighted towards concessions, so you would expect that performance. There's also the bonus of not the liability of stock. It's owned by the concession partner, not by the society. But it's very much around the allocation of space in the store. It's what's driving that. Right. I'll quit while I'm ahead. Thank you.
Wow, looks like I'm going to have to introduce myself. Hi. Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming out. I think most of you know me anyway. Yes, membership. The year's been a bit of a year for reinvention for the membership department. Rather than annual dividend being the main reward for our members, the introduction of this instant reward at the start of the year has very much progressed as 2023 moved out and played much more of an important role, particularly in our food stores. And this was based on the society trying to find more ways to assist members in the cost of living crisis. As Barry alluded to earlier, no longer is an annual dividend the primary benefit. You're no longer having to just wait a year for your share of the profit. We've introduced a whole new type of benefit, the instant reward, or the member offer. It was trialled at the end of 2022. It proved very successful, and it has continued throughout the last financial year due to its popularity. They are real-time discounts at the till, so you're saving money there and then. For the most part, over the course of the year, it was done through 10% offs through certain key periods of the day or on specific days of the week. And over 23, we managed to kind of fine-tune it to find when it was best received by members and when it was making the most difference. Ooh, there we go. Also, across the year, we introduced an introductory offer to new members. They're getting extra discounts, 15% off on their first 3 food store shops. And together, these 2 immediate benefits has had a very obvious impact on our membership. In the year itself, we had 4,636 new members join, which is more than double the amount that we had prior to these benefits being there. And the amount of business coming from these members has also gone up to over 12.5% of the total sales that the Society has received. Now, I'm not normally one for bar charts and line graphs, but this one I want you to see because I'm particularly proud of it. This is the number of new members that we have got actively shopping with us across 2023. We were aiming for a 5% increase and we got nearly 20% in terms of active members. So the grey line in the middle is what we were hoping for and the orange line is what we got. And what you can see from that is the benefit lasted right the way through the year. So all the way through the year, members were getting more active throughout. So it was picking up speed. The other statistic that I was looking at was the number of businesses that you members were using. I wanted to get you in more. So we increased different offers, cross-departmental coupons. People shopping in the food stores got discounts in the quadrant. Travel, food store, etc., etc. I wanted to get more people up, using more businesses up by 5%, and this managed to increase them by over 11%. So this was something else that we were very pleased about. Barry made reference earlier on how much we've managed to save members with these instant rewards. I think that included some of the trial period as well, but in the financial year in question, 2023, when you take the number of more members we've got, the more activity and all of the instant rewards, in the financial year, we managed to save members at the till £219,000, which we're very proud about. That £219,000 is instant financial relief at the till point in the shops when people need it. But it's not members we're financially supporting only, of course. We are a co-op. Though in the process of being phased out, our community card scheme has been able to award nearly £4,000 to 50 groups over the year. And the more substantial community fund has been able to distribute over £23,000 in grants to 18 beneficiaries. And as the fund has settled in over the last few years, we've been able to donate larger amounts. You'll see that chart on the left is the amount this year compared to the last couple. Over the year, the membership committee who decide where this grant money is spent, they weighed the grants more towards causes benefiting children and young people, although we did touch on a number of other areas as well. It has to be said also there's a bit of crossover between some of these categories, but children and young people last year were definitely benefiting more from our community fund. The grants were distributed right across our trading area. The more deprived areas in Southend and Tilbury were featured more heavily, and they received the most assistance. Now, since we've been working with the Essex Community Foundation, who kind of manage the fund and make sure that all of the applicants are bona fide and all above board, we've now awarded nearly £67,000 in grants to 42 different organisations. Now, I'm much more comfortable with some photos, so let's have a look at some of these. I've been lucky enough to visit many of the beneficiaries over the last year. I quite often go with various members of the membership committee, always with our chair, Pauline Dodd, and we've seen for ourselves the benefit that the grants are having, whether that be through assisting a nursery group or building allotments. And what we've found is it's been a real privilege to see the local people benefiting, and it's become very apparent as well how much in Essex, and I suspect across the country, how much we all rely on the goodwill of volunteers, because most of these good things that you as members are helping us to do through using our shops and spending your money and allowing us to contribute to this fund, they still wouldn't be able to happen without the volunteers running them. And so because this pot is largely funded through contributions coming from yourselves, I do want to thank you for using the co-op and taking advantage of the cooperative difference. And long may it last. Excellent stuff. Well done. Please keep it up. Thank you. On top of the community fund, our colleagues have also been raising some significant funds of their own for causes close to their heart, not least of which was the funeral team when they slept out in a graveyard in Writtle overnight and raised a significant amount of money for the Royal British Legion. And of course, as a co-op, it's not just large sums of money we're giving out, it's also genuine grassroots support to the communities involved where we are operating. Oh, I have a dodgy battery. There we go. Such as Holbridge Council ensuring that no one went hungry over the age of 80 last winter. We were instrumental in that. Or in Gallywood, we made sure residents living alone received a Christmas gift, or those who couldn't afford Christmas dinner did it through hampers, through the Hampers of Help appeal, which one of our elected members is instrumental in. In fact, Chelmsford Star, our donations have ensured Easter egg hunts have been able to go ahead, park runs have happened, cultural exchange events have been able to be set up and take place. We've planted trees, we've cleaned up parkland, we've recognised local stars and what they've done through award sponsorship. And this is just a small fraction of what our colleagues have assisted us with. And I would challenge any one of you to find someone, a local business, that does more in the community than we do. And also, as part of the wider co-op movement, we've worked with other co-ops across the country and across the world to raise money for an organisation called the One Foundation. These people benefit every time you buy co-op water, and we've assisted, as part of this movement, to raise them £20 million of the £30 million that they've raised in total, to ensure that millions of people are actually able to access free water. And this is co-op difference in action on a global scale, and this is done through sales in our local co-op. So this is all something that we are proud to be a part of, this wider cooperative network. So keep buying co-op water and you'll be making sure people have clean water right across the globe. Okay, so looking forwards, we're going to be doing a little bit of looking backwards. The very idea of cooperation celebrates 180 years this summer. We're giving all our members exclusive access to a virtual tour of the very first Rochdale Pioneer Co-op shop. It is all thanks to the Co-op Heritage Trust and the Rochdale Pioneer Museum. If you would like to see this virtual tour, we do need to have your email address. So if you don't get emails from me on a semi-regular basis, there's an email address on the screens there. Just make a note. Let us have it, and then we'll make sure that you receive this exclusive link to a virtual tour of the first ever co-op store. We're also working with the local Civic Society to film a potted history of our own 157 years and counting. Our own history. We'll also have a video put together through their assistance. And there is also the small matter of fair trade turning 30. Now, Chelmsford Star has been supporting fair trade since before the idea even had a name, and we'll be marking the occasion in September with tastings, and we will hopefully have a speaker coming from overseas, although that has not been confirmed yet. We'll be talking about 30 ways you can support fair trade for its 30th birthday, things like that. More immediately, coming up this weekend, we're sponsoring a local race, so it's all about being out and about in the community, being seen, but also giving them water, because they'll be very thirsty, I'm sure. We'll also be doing healthy eating experiences in Braintree, and we'll have more litter picks coming up than you can shake a litter pick at. But over and above all of this community involvement is our bread and butter, the members themselves, you guys, and we'll be continuing to look after you too. Over the coming months, we'll continue to offer immediate savings for our members in the food shops, whether that be through fixed discounts or via discounted member prices throughout the shelves. Keep an eye out for the signs. I also hope to be introducing some additional discounts for our other businesses too, so those people that aren't using our food shops will also see some benefit. Watch this space for that. And finally, I guess, if any of you are interested to hear more, or if you've got your own thoughts and experiences you want us to take into account, we would very much like to hear from you. We would like to see if you would be suitable to stand up and become an elected member. We'd love to hear your voice and to get you more involved. You'll obviously have the results of the member elections coming up later tonight. Maybe in the future you could be part of that. If you're interested, it would be great to hear from you. But in the meantime, you'll find me and my team out in the shops talking to customers. We'll be continuing to discuss the benefits of instant savings through membership, talking about the dividend reward, talking about what we're doing in the community, and basically making people aware that you can save money by being a co-op member when you use our shops. Not only that, when you're spending in our shops, look at all the wonderful stuff that we're able to do. Thank you very much. Oh, questions? Not even one from Malcolm.
I was going to say well done.
Okay, thank you very much. I believe I am handing over to Katie. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So I'm back for some more formalities. So given the trading performance and financial results of the year ending 27th January 2024, as well as the Society's investment in discounts at the point of sale for members that you've heard about, the Board of Directors recommends a share of the profits payment of £2 per 1,000 points this year. This rate reflects a decrease on the previous year. However, as previously mentioned in the updates you've heard this evening, during this financial year under review, members have been benefiting from exclusive member pricing, including obviously the various 10% offers on basket spends, etc. in selected stores. These additional discounts give members an instant saving on their shopping, as Kevin sort of went through there. And in the last financial year, over £200,000 of savings were given to members, and we're continuing to run these, obviously, offers through this year. So all of that being said, can I ask for members to ratify the rate of £2 per 1,000 points to be awarded on transactions and purchases up to the 27th of January 2024? Firstly, please could I have a proposer for this motion? Thank you. And a seconder? Thank you. And please can I have a show of hands for? And against? And anyone that would like to abstain? No? Okay, great, thank you. So now if we move on to the approval of directors' fees and expenses. So under the Society's rules, directors' fees can be reviewed from time to time and require member approval. Having reviewed the rates, the board is proposing an 8% increase, which is in line with the colleague pay awards in the trading year under review this evening. The breakdown of fees and expenses are detailed on page 13 of your annual reports. Directors did not receive an increase to their fees during the COVID-19 pandemic, and only small increases have been implemented in the period since. Therefore, the proposed increase seeks to balance the need to provide a fair and attractive offer for directors joining the board and also ensure affordability for the Society. Directors are mindful not to increase costs to the Society, whilst obviously accepting that the level of fees need to be at a rate which continues to attract new members to the board. An 8% increase will see total costs increase by just over £6,000 a year, covering all 10 directors. And Equally, we looked at the expenses policy for directors, and this has been in place with the current rate since 2013, and therefore the board proposes that the daily and half-daily allowances, daily rate and overnight accommodation rates are increased to reflect the current climate and costs and ensure that allowances are reasonable, taking into account inflation and the increased cost of living. As you can see from the slide, it's proposed that the daily allowances increase from £25 to £30, which means that the half-daily allowances increase from £12.50 up to £15. The daily expenses rate, which includes meals and things like that, that's increased from £40 to £50. And overnight accommodation increased from £120 to £140 per night. Once again, directors are mindful not to increase costs to the society, whilst accepting that the expenses policy needs to be reasonable and reflect the increased costs that we have all seen in recent years. So with all that being said, can I ask for members to approve the proposal to increase the directors' fees and expenses? Firstly, please can I have a proposer? Thank you. And a seconder? Thank you. And can I ask for a show of hands for? And against? And anyone that would like to abstain? Okay, thank you. Now we move on to the approval of the Chelmsford Star Cooperative Party's subscription fee. So the National Cooperative Party was established in 1917, over 100 years ago, to defend and further the cause of cooperation in the UK. In 1943, the Society established the Chelmsford Star Cooperative Party, building on the strength of cooperation within the locality. The party looks to support the society and promote not just us, but other forms of cooperatives and mutuals, social and voluntary organisations. Like us, they share the view that people will achieve more working together than they can by working alone. The Chelmsford Star Co-operative Party is an independent party and is not a faction of the Labour Party. During 2023, the party held an in-person event to celebrate its 80th anniversary, and a speaker came to give some historical background, and the support given by the society to subsidise refreshments and design and print flyers was much appreciated by the party. In 2024, they intend to raise awareness locally about cooperatives and the Cooperative Party. The subscription will allow our local party to continue to campaign and support cooperative issues. The party has renewed contact with Millrace Furniture Restorers Cooperative. Is also looking to work with Sustainable Danbury on its work relating to community energy, and will continue to support the Great Baddow Community Allotment, which has seen some great results during 2023. If you have any questions or would like to find out more, please speak to the members of our local party that are here this evening. The relationship with the party was born by our directors in 1943 and has continued as part of our heritage. In accordance with our rules, we are required to seek member approval of our subscription to the Chelmsford Star Cooperative Party. Our subscription for the year to May 2025 is £1,000 compared to £500 the year before. Therefore, may I ask for member approval? Please can I have a proposer? Thank you. And a seconder? Thank you. And please could you raise your hands if you're in for this subscription? Thank you. Against? And anyone that would like to abstain? Thank you. Now we move on to the appointment of the auditor. So the Board of Directors recommends the reappointment of Rickard Luckin as the Society's auditors for the year ahead. So can I ask for member approval on this, please? Firstly, could I have a proposer? Thank you. And a seconder? Thank you. And all those in favour, please raise your hands. Great, thank you. Anyone that's against? And any abstentions? Great, thank you. Now we move on to the fun bit. So the election of member representatives. So moving on to the results of this year's society elections. A total of 496 votes were received, 461 from postal votes, 22 from in-store voting held at our Chelmsford and Braintree quadrant stores, and 13 from this evening. So firstly, I'll start with the results for the Board of Directors. So this year we have 5 vacancies and 6 nominations were received. A total of 2,480 votes were available to be cast, and 424 were not allocated to any candidate. So those elected to serve on the Board of Directors are Judy Saunders with 404 votes, Pauline Dodd with 402 votes, Ben Stops with 389 votes, Richard Hyland with 355 votes, and Tony Price with 304 votes. All those elected shall serve for 3 years. Unfortunately, Joshua Beresford Davis with 202 votes is unsuccessful on this occasion. Just moving on to the membership committee. There is 1 vacancy this year and 3 nominations were received. A total of 496 votes were available to be cast and 31 were not allocated. With the highest number of votes, Susan Sullivan is elected with 210 votes. For the record, the other 2 candidates have already been successfully elected to a higher tier and therefore would have stood aside in this election. But again, for the record, the unsuccessful candidates were Pauline Dodd with 209 votes, and then Richard Hyland with 105. And then moving on to Members' Council, there was an insufficient number of candidates to hold a contested election for Members' Council this year, and 3 candidates nominated for Members' Council have been elected to a higher tier. Therefore, Val Sullivan and Jill Parker have been appointed to the Members' Council for 2 years. Congratulations to all the successful candidates. Can I ask that if you're here, can you briefly stand so members can see who you are? Thank you. I'd also like to thank all the candidates for standing for elected roles to make this year a contested election. And may I just ask that those members who have been elected to the Board of Directors just come and see me at the end of this meeting. I will now pass you across to the President to conclude this evening.
I hope that you all, I'll start again, can't see me writing here. I hope you have all found this evening information interesting. There being no further formal business to conduct, I will now call a meeting to a close. May I thank you all for joining us this evening and wish you a safe journey home. Good night.